When the people of Delhi woke up on the morning after Diwali, the city looked ghostly. The skyline was gone, the air felt heavy, and every breath carried the faint sting of ash. It was as if the festival of lights had been followed by a night of smoke. Despite court orders, environmental warnings, and years of awareness campaigns, the familiar toxic haze had returned, choking the capital once again. By dawn, Delhi's iconic landmarks, India Gate, Qutub Minar, even the outlines of distant high-rises had disappeared behind a thick grey shroud. Flights were delayed, visibility on roads dropped below 200 meters, and the city of nearly 33 million people began another day under pollution emergency. On Tuesday morning, the air quality index in Delhi hit 360, firmly placing it in the very poor category. In several neighborhoods, including Anand Vihar, Jahangirpuri, and Noida Sector 62, levels breached 400, touching the severe mark. The AQI measures the presence of pollutants like PM10, PM2.5, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, and ozone in the air. But it's PM2.5, fine particulate matter smaller than 2.5 microns, that poses the greatest threat. To put that in perspective, these microscopic particles are about 30 times thinner than a human hair, small enough to enter the lungs and bloodstream. At moderate levels, they cause irritation and coughing. At extreme levels, they can lead to heart disease, stroke, and lung cancer. The World Health Organization recommends that PM2.5 exposure over 24 hours should not exceed 15 micrograms per cubic meter. On Diwali morning, readings in parts of Delhi exceeded 360 micrograms per cubic meter, nearly 24 times higher than safe limits. The Central Pollution Control Board classifies AQI readings between 301 and 400 as very poor, and anything above 400 as severe, levels where prolonged exposure can cause respiratory illness even in healthy individuals. For a city that consistently ranks among the world's top 10 most polluted urban centers, alongside Lahore, Dhaka, and Beijing, this wasn't a surprise. But what stood out this year was how quickly the air quality plummeted within just hours after the celebrations. Diwali, one of India's most cherished festivals, is celebrated by Hindus, Sikhs, and Jains to mark the triumph of light over darkness and good over evil. Traditionally, the night sky lights up with diyas, lanterns, and increasingly fireworks. But in recent years, that sparkle has come with a cost. Despite multiple Supreme Court directives to limit the use of firecrackers, this year the skies over Delhi burst into color and sound once again. The court had allowed only green crackers, designed to emit 20-30% less pollutants, and restricted their use to 2 hours in the evening, 8 to 10 p.m., and 1 hour in the morning on Diwali and the preceding day. However, enforcement remained weak. In marketplaces across the capital, traditional crackers were sold openly, often mislabeled as eco-friendly. A survey by the Center for Science and Environment found that over 70% of vendors continued to sell banned fireworks under false packaging. By midnight, the city's sky was a haze of smoke and sound, with PM2.5 concentrations spiking by nearly 600% compared to pre-Diwali levels. The celebrations had turned into suffocation. By 6 a.m., visibility in many parts of Delhi had dropped below 150 meters. The smell of burning, that harsh mix of sulfur, charcoal, and chemicals, settled like a blanket over the city. But fireworks alone don't create this crisis. Delhi's unique geography, weather patterns, and human activity form a deadly combination every winter. The city sits in a bowl-like valley surrounded by the Aravalli Hills, which limit air circulation. During winter, as temperatures drop and wind speeds fall below 5 kilometers per hour, pollutants fail to disperse. The atmosphere acts like a sealed lid, trapping emissions close to the ground. To make matters worse, this is also the time when farmers in neighboring states, Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, burn leftover paddy stubble to clear fields for the next crop cycle. According to the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, ERI, over 12 million tons of stubble are burnt each season, releasing vast amounts of carbon monoxide, methane, and particulate matter. Satellite data from NASA's ZRS sensors showed more than 1,900 fire counts in Punjab and Haryana on the night before Diwali. These smoke plumes, carried by light winds, mix with Delhi's local pollution from vehicular traffic, construction dust, and industrial emissions, creating a toxic cocktail that engulfs the region. With air quality sliding rapidly, the Delhi government invoked Stage 3 of the Graded Response Action Plan, or GRAP, a set of emergency measures to combat severe pollution. Under GRAP, authorities ordered a ban on construction and demolition activities in sensitive zones, restrictions on diesel generators and coal-based industries, a stop to waste burning and open cooking using firewood, schools to limit outdoor activities for children. Additionally, public advisories urged residents to stay indoors, wear N95 masks, and use air purifiers where possible. But for many citizens, these actions came too late. By then, hospitals across Delhi were already reporting a surge in patients with breathing difficulties, eye irritation, and asthma attacks. The All India Institute of Medical Sciences noted a 28% rise in respiratory emergency cases within 48 hours after Diwali. Children and the elderly were the worst affected. Residents shared haunting visuals online of morning joggers wearing gas masks and school buses moving through a thick orange fog. For the city's most vulnerable, street vendors, auto drivers, sanitation workers, the crisis wasn't just about discomfort, it was about survival. What makes this year particularly worrying is not just the numbers, but the mindset shift. Environmental experts fear that the relaxation of the firecracker ban could undo years of awareness built among Delhi's citizens. In earlier years, many families had voluntarily reduced fireworks, switching to laser shows or Diya-only celebrations. But the idea of green crackers has given a false sense of safety. Scientists at the National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, which helped design these green variants, admit that they still release sulfur dioxide, potassium nitrate, and heavy metals, albeit in smaller amounts. The problem lies not just in chemistry but in scale. When millions of people burst even reduced emission crackers simultaneously, the collective impact is enormous. Delhi's annual battle with air pollution costs the city an estimated $7 billion in lost productivity and healthcare expenses, according to the Energy and Resources Institute. Studies also link long-term exposure to PM 2.5 with a 2.7-year reduction in average life expectancy for residents of northern India. The capital's pollution isn't an isolated event. It's a symptom of a larger crisis involving urban planning, agricultural policy, and cultural habits. Until these intersecting issues are addressed, short-term bans and emergency plans will only act as temporary bandages on a recurring wound. The irony is unmistakable. Diwali, the festival meant to celebrate light, now symbolizes a deeper darkness of neglect, denial, and environmental decay. Every year, Delhi goes through the same cycle: warnings, restrictions, defiance, and finally, suffocation. With an AQI of 360 and rising and PM 2.5 levels 24 times higher than what's considered safe, the city is living on borrowed breaths. As the smog thickens and visibility fades, one question remains. In this annual battle between tradition and survival, which side is truly winning? Until that question is answered, every sunrise after Diwali will look the same, dim, grey, and quietly suffocating.